it's Tara and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is quite different to what I usually do. So just over 2 years ago on June 21st, 2021, I did an op shop haul, and in that haul I showed you what I got. I got 18 books in that haul, and I said in that video that when I read them all, I'm going to make another video and tell you guys what I thought about them and which ones I liked, which ones I didn't, blah blah blah. It's now 2 years later. I finished reading these books ages ago, but it was during my filming hiatus, so I was like, I just never got around to doing it, but we're doing it now, so better late than never. So I started in June 2021, finished in May 2022, so it took a year, which isn't that good, like 17 books in a year. There were 18 books that I showed in that initial video, but I only read 17 of them, and that is because while I was filming the whole video, I realised that this book, Milk Glass Moon by Adriana Trigiani, still don't know how to pronounce it, is actually the third book in a trilogy. Or I don't know if it's a trilogy, but it's the third book in a series. 2 years later and I still don't have the first two books, so I didn't end up reading this, but I thought I'd just show you it first to get it out of the way. So the first official book that I read from the haul was Margaret by Lee Battersby. It is targeted at a younger audience, probably like 13 or so, and I am not 13, and I wasn't 13 when I read this. So like it was very quick, like the font is very big. I ended up rating this 3 stars, which I think's pretty fair. Lives in a graveyard. She has this like friend that she like talks to and stuff and gives her like advice and stuff, and then all of a sudden a baby appears in the graveyard, and this 10-year-old girl, Margaret, has to take care of the baby. It was kind of confusing, but it has a lot of themes of life and death and growing up and maturing, I guess. I did really enjoy it. If you're a younger reader, maybe like 12, 13, I would recommend this. I did like the themes in it, but yeah, if you're more of a young adult reader, this probably isn't your style, but I did enjoy it. 3 stars. The next book I read, I actually don't have my physical copy because I gave it to my friend to borrow, and she's currently in London, hopefully enjoying it, but that is The Pause by John Larkin. I gave this book 5 stars. Basically, it says Declan has it all, like friends, family, a beautiful girlfriend, and then there's something in his past that troubles him, and he decides basically to kill himself. And that's what The Pause is. So it flicks back and forth between the past and like you kind of understand what happened to him in the past. And then it's kind of 3 perspectives actually. It's like what happened in the past, and then the moments leading up to, you know, him like deciding to jump in front of a train. It's that part. And then there's kind of a switch where it's like it switches between what, like him getting hit by the train and him like physically feeling what happened and like seeing himself kind of in the third person as it's happening, and then he goes to basically like a limbo type thing where it's just black everywhere, and then he has to basically see his friends and family living their lives without him. I know that I really love this book, and I will reread it eventually. I would recommend it. There are obviously themes of death and suicide and, you know, mental health stuff. So if that's a bit triggering for you, don't read it. But if that doesn't bother you that much, or like you don't get as triggered by that, then I would recommend this book. The next one I read was The Girl Who Chased the Moon by Sarah Addison Allen. Honestly, don't remember this book. If I'm being honest. Her mum dies and leaves her a bunch of riddles and stuff that she has to solve. It's quite a short book. Yeah, it's like 270 pages, maybe less, so it's pretty quick. I gave it 4 stars though, so I must have liked it. let's look at my review. It was overall enjoyable and interesting. I was pulled in from the first chapter and didn't want to put it down until it was finished. The plot twists weren't ones that were obvious. I said this is the first book by Ellen that I've read, and I will definitely be checking out more of her work. I don't remember this book at all. So maybe that calls for a reread. I guess I would recommend it if past me liked it a lot. I don't know. The next one is The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I said in the whole video that I know I'm going to like this, and I did. I gave it 5 stars because I love the movie. From what I remember, the book and the movie are pretty similar. I absolutely loved the movie adaptation, so this was a definite read for me. The book gives a better insight into what Susie is thinking, obviously, because in the movie you don't really get her like internal monologue like you do, but it's a lot easier to write about it than it is to show it in a movie. This is a dark book, again, like The Pause, so if you're triggered by kidnapping and stuff with children, I wouldn't recommend this book, but if you've seen the movie and you love the movie, I would recommend reading it. This book is a coming of age without the main character being able to age anymore. And then the next book I read was The Happiness Quest by Richard Yaxley. This one again is a short one. This is like just under 200 pages, so what the fuck? I started reading this August 12th, 2021. I finished reading it September 7th. How did it take me like 3 weeks to read this? So, this book, I gave 3 stars. Like most of them, I don't really remember. The main character, Tilly, is basically depressed and sad, and she doesn't know why, so she goes on this happiness quest to try and figure out why and try and basically fix herself. In my review, I said, to be honest, not a lot happened in this book, but overall, this wasn't a book that I was invested in. I expected this book to open my eyes and make me look at the world differently, but it didn't, unfortunately. The next read was When You Were Mine, and I remember liking this. I gave it 4 stars. So this is basically about a couple, or not a couple, but 2 friends from college who are raising a kid together. I said that once I got a couple chapters in and understood like the characters, I enjoyed it a lot more. The twist at the end was something that I was not expecting. My jaw hit the floor when I read it, and that I would recommend this book. Gonna be honest, don't really remember what the twist was. I'm pretty sure it was just like, so Ibby wasn't actually Amelia's dad, so we like find out who is Amelia's dad, which I guess was a very big plot twist that I probably should have seen. The next book I remember not liking at all. This is The Abundance of Catherines by John Green, and I really dislike this book. So I've read Fault in Our Stars, Paper Planes. Not Paper Planes. Paper Planes is the Australian movie. Paper Towns is the John Green book. I read both of those, liked it. I have another John Green book here that I loved, but this one I gave 2 stars. Did not like it at all. The concept was kind of cool, like the main character, I thought his name was Colin. He only dates girls named Catherine. He's dated 19 girls named Catherine. I thought the concept was kind of cool, but Colin frustrated the shit out of me. I hated his character so much. He has a friend, Hassan. I thought he was alright. And then they meet Lindsay, who was my favourite character. I loved her. But Colin, oh my god, I couldn't care less about. I said the book was boring, which is upsetting from such a good author like John Green. I couldn't get into this one like I could the other ones. If you want to say that you've read all of John Green's work, then I would recommend you read it, but otherwise, I would say you're not missing anything by not reading it. Which I stand by. I remember, it was so boring, like nothing happened. So, again, like I said in the past, would only recommend reading this if you want to say that you've read all of John Green's work, but you're not missing anything. Like, read Fault in Our Stars, read Paper Towns, read Looking for Alaska. Those are the other 3 that I've read, so I can't really talk about his other work, but those 3, read those. Don't read this one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John Green. You're not watching this, but I'm sorry. The next one is Can You See Me by Libby Scott and Rebecca Westcott. This is about Tally. She's autistic, which I think this is the first book I've read where it has an autistic, definitely an autistic main character, but I don't know if it was the first one with an autistic character in general, but I really enjoyed this book, I remember. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I thought this book was very well done, and it was such a good way to open people's eyes and educate people on what really goes on in autistic people's minds. Well, at least from Libby Scott's perspective, because Libby Scott, the author of this, is autistic and she based Tally off of her own life, I'm pretty sure. So it's not like some neurotypical author trying to write about mental stuff that they don't understand. Like, Libby is autistic, which makes the book authentic. I basically just said I would recommend reading this book if you want to learn more about autism and what they go through, basically. The next one is Looking for Alaska by John Green. I don't know if you can read that. Looking for Alaska. Gave this 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. So like I said in the haul video, there is a show on Stan of Looking for Alaska. I still haven't watched it. It's been 2 years, but I'll get around to it at some point. I think all the characters are really engaging, and I liked its use of literary figures, even though I haven't really read any classics and didn't fully understand the references, but I liked that they used a lot of literary references. I didn't know anything about the plot apart from that Alaska went missing, because it's called Looking for Alaska, so obviously she goes somewhere. So I knew about that, but I didn't understand that it was like it's about her mental health and stuff. Usually in books there is at least one character that I dislike or find annoying, but for me I really enjoyed all the characters. And then in like brackets I said, I know that some people will find Alaska annoying, but I thought that it was everything that she had gone through that made her like that, which is understandable, which can be said for a lot of other characters, but for Alaska, it's different. I would hands down recommend you read this book, even if you're a John fan, if you're a John Green fan or not, I would recommend reading this book. I think this book makes you think about life and death in a way you may not have previously. 5 stars. The next one I read was A Gathering Light by Jennifer Donnelly. This is the one that's about a girl that works at like a hotel, or I think it's like a hotel. And this girl gives her a bunch of letters before she is found dead, and then basically she's told to burn the letters, but she doesn't end up doing that. She keeps them, and I think she reads them and she uses them to try and find out what happened to the girl. I don't remember that much about this book. I gave it 3 stars, so I guess I enjoyed it, but I thought this was like a modern book, but you find out like the first page. Yes, so the first page it says July 12th, 1906. I didn't have a problem with it because I love Anne of Green Gables, which is set in the 1870s. So I'm used to that like old, like the language and the, just the life at that point in time. So I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to read this because it's not contemporary. Like, no, it was okay. I was able to push through it because I liked Anne of Green Gables and I was already conditioned to understand that time. I said the book was a little slow and it took me a little bit longer to finish it, but it wasn't too bad. I like when there's either a dual point of view or it goes like back and forth between like points in time, which is what this one did. Basically, it flipped between the past and the future, and then eventually it met up in the present, and I really enjoyed that. I said I don't think this is a bad book, but I probably won't be coming back to it. And I said that there are other period novels like Anne of Green Gables that I would prefer to read over this. So the next 3 books I read were the Hunger Games trilogy. So I gave all 3 of these books 4 stars. I'm not really sure why I didn't give them 5 stars, but yeah, they all got 4 stars. It's not like one of them got 4 stars and the other got 2. Like, they all got 4 stars. They're all at the same level in my eyes. The Catching Fire movie is my favourite out of the three, just because the concept and like the visual of it is so good. But in terms of the books, they're all the same. The movies followed the books pretty well from what I remember. There are obviously a couple things that were different, like some speech things and some like actual events, but for the majority the timelines are basically the same. I'm pretty sure these were the first books that I ever annotated. So I don't know if you can see that, all the tabs. So I annotated the first book a lot more than the last book, just because I feel like a lot more, like you're just getting used to the, you know, the characters and all that. I really enjoyed these books. I don't feel like I need to comment on like the plot and all that, like what actually happens in the books, because I feel like most of you will know. Solid 4-star series. So with Storygraph, I would recommend you use Storygraph for your reading, just because Goodreads doesn't have a lot of options, whereas I feel like Storygraph you can personalize it a lot more. So on Storygraph you can do 0.25, 0.5 and 0.75. So I feel like I would have given all of these books 4.5 stars instead of just 4 stars. But the next book I read is The Fifth Letter by Nicola Moriarty. I actually remember liking this book. Oh, I gave it 3 stars, so maybe not. There's 4 friends, 4 like women, like in their 30s I would assume, and they all write letters about what's going on in their lives, and one of the women find a 5th letter, so that means that somebody wrote 2. One of them was like pretty tame and the other one was like, I don't remember what the plot twist was, but it must have been like she had a kid, or like basically the whole book you're like trying to figure out who it is, and I don't think my guess was right. That's the only thing that kept me through this book, was that I was trying to figure out who wrote the 5th letter. The next book I read was If You Could See Me Now by Cecilia Ahern. I rated this one 3 stars. I don't remember what this book is about. Just a busy girl, busy lady, and then she meets someone that makes her more adventurous. I don't know. I don't think I would recommend this. The next book I read was The Night Circus, and when I made my initial haul video, I didn't realise that this book was very popular. Like, this is a popular book. I'm not sure if it's that popular now, but like back in the day, it was a popular TikTok book. So this is by Erin Morgenstern, and I've read another book by her, which is The Starless Sea. They're both quite as chunky as each other. This one's like, I remember saying that I liked Starless Sea more. I gave this one 4 stars. I don't remember what I gave Starless Sea, probably 4, 4.5. This one's about a circus, obviously the Night Circus. And there's like a slight mystery around it, because it just kind of shows up in towns and nobody knows really why or how, and it's got this like not mystery, like magical nature to it. Like it's kind of fantasy realism, magical realism. I think that's what the genre is. It's like magical realism, and I really enjoyed it. Let's see if I left a review for this one. I did not. I don't know why I didn't leave a review for this one either, but I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend this book. This is a great book. It's quite long, but I would recommend it. I also recommend Starless Sea, which I read. If I did read Starless Sea this year, then that will be in my end of year reading wrapped video. If I didn't read it this year, I would also recommend you read that. And then the last book. I thought this video would have been a lot longer, but I got through it pretty quick, so that's good. The last book I read, which is one that I didn't really enjoy, is The Last Reminder by Stuart Pawson. This is like a crime, mystery, detective book, basically. So this is part of like a series, but they're all standalone, so it doesn't really matter which one you read. Like, you don't have to read them in order, but they all kind of link up. Like, they all have like same main character. I'm not going to read any more of this series. I gave this series, I gave this book 3 stars. It was alright. So you're following the detective, a murder happens, he tries to figure out who did it, basically. It's not mind-blowing. So that is my update of the 17 books that I read from my haul that I filmed 2 years ago. Yeah, I really hope to get into reading content, because for the longest time this channel has just been reaction videos, and as much as I love doing reaction videos and how much I love filming, like reacting to Riverdale and Euphoria and blah blah blah, as much as I love that, I want to try and do something different. And because I've been so into reading and watching people on like YouTube reading, I want to try and make my own content. It's not going to be as good as theirs, but I just want to kind of talk about what I've been reading. So maybe I will do monthly reading, like wrap-ups and stuff. If there was a book I said I didn't like that much and you loved it, let me know down below. Or if there was can't speak, or if there was a book I said that I loved and you really didn't, let me know in the comments. I want to have a conversation with you. If you enjoyed this video, please click like and subscribe to my channel to see more from me. Turn on post notifications to be notified of whenever I upload next. Thanks for watching.